Shalom, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, the honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us his truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful like Akim, teaching and preaching his truth with all righteousness and sincerity. This is Ak Wasab. Today's lesson is entitled, Try to Stay Away from the King's Meat, Babylon Food. And Lord willing, be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, the true names of the Heavenly Father, and his only begotten Son. And as always, the sit downs, the lessons, the street speaking, it's for the remnant, the elect, the Israel, the Most High, the 144,000, and the rest of the elect. So today's lesson is inspired by what we spoke about at this past camp. And we went into an example of what Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego went through here in Daniel, the first chapter. And we running parallels on how we are in the daughter of Babylon, and the king's meat today is McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, and all these different food full of these processed foods full of chemicals that's just destroying us. You know what I mean? And it's been a vibration amongst the bros to try to eat healthy, exercise, and just try to be the better version of you health wise. So we got examples in the scripts here, so I'll be going into that. And once again, Lord willing, be edifying to the remnant, the elect of Israel, the Most High. So matter of fact, before we do that, I got this still here, well, this search these images, and you see McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, all these different foods that are heavily processed with all these GMOs in it. It's just gonna constantly put these different spirits on you. You know what I mean? You being lethargic, lazy, no energy, there's no nutrients in it, so you're not getting your essential nutrients, your vitamin A, your vitamin C, and your zinc, all right, and various other different, nutrients that you need for your body to, run efficiently. If you're constantly putting this stuff in you, of course you're gonna have, that spirit of not wanting to do anything, and you having cloudy, your judgment is cloudy. You having complications with getting a good night's rest. Your bones and your muscles ache. You gaining weight, so on and so forth. And then that leads to sicknesses and diseases and all other type of things that weigh heavy down on the body. So let's go ahead and get it in Daniel 1:1. It says, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of the Most High. So, it didn't matter what Jehoiakim, king of Judah, tried to do to avoid, getting besieged by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, all right, in Nebuchadnezzar's hand. Man goings is of the Lord, how then shall a man understand his own way? Who has ever resisted his will? Roughly paraphrasing. So if it's written that the Lord is gonna have something happen, it's gonna happen. We read about Esau coming down, 2nd Ezra 6:9. Esau is the end of the world. Esau has an end. It's written. So let's keep going, Salakia. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of the Most High, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, the king's seed, and their princes. And when you go into the history, when Nebuchadnezzar II besieged Jerusalem, he didn't get all of the southern kingdom and exiled them into Babylon, which is modern day Iraq. All right, what Nebuchadnezzar did was he got the king's seed and the princes, the Israelites that was on a high level. The poorest of the people Nebuchadnezzar left behind When you read about Habakkuk bringing Daniel some soup in a lion's den, which Daniel was in a lion's den twice, uh, Habakkuk said um, that he was in Jerusalem and he's never seen Babylon. So that's an example of Israelites was still, in a land while you had the top Israelites of Judah be exiled into Babylon. So, and 4 verse says, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace. So Nebuchadnezzar, he didn't get niggas that was hanging out in front of 7-Eleven, a couple of little knuckleheads down here by the gas station. He got Israelites that was wise and on a level. Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, them was Judites. Wise men, as it says here, children in whom was no blemish, well built, handsome men, well favored, accepted, and skillful in knowledge. They was on a level mentally, cunning in knowledge. They were sharp, understanding in science. They was doing research and new particular secrets and things, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace. If you in the king's palace, you seeing gold, silver, you seeing, you seeing kingly stuff. They wasn't, getting around, these environments and fanning out, ooh, and on, they was of the king's seed. They already knew the presence, knew how to be in the presence of kings and men of rank and authority and nobles. They wasn't fanning out. It says in whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldeans. So these men, all right, was going to get taught the learning in the language of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. So, they were given, certain daily provisions, food, water, certain, daily necessities, right? Alcohol, drink, and nourished them for 3 years. They learning the tongue of the Chaldeans, they getting built up. Now, among these were of the children of Judah, Judites, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, to whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name Belshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and of Azariah of Abednego. So they had Babylonian names. They were given Babylonian names, just like we have, our Babylonian names. You know what I mean? Scott, Daryl, Justin, James. Well, James is kind of spiritual, but you get the picture. All right. Verse 8, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with portion of the king's meat. So the food that the king, allowed to be served, to these men, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. All right. Because, the meat was, hey, let's go into the word defile. Let's see. Defile goes back to the Hebrew word ga'al. That's the God, the ah, and the la. Ga'al, ga'al. And it says defile, pollute, desecrate. Now, according to the law, there's certain foods certain animals that are an abomination unto us if we were to eat them. Like the camel, the pig, a rabbit, the mouse. You know what I mean? And those type of foods in these other countries are accepted by heathens. You know, you can go to Thailand, they eat scorpion and different bugs and stuff like that. Rabbit, that's normal. Dog, that's normal stuff. You know, so he didn't want to eat the food that will defile him. Now we coming up on a level, you know what I mean? And Esau is getting exposed, right? Isaiah 47, 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter, then shall that wicked be revealed. You know, Esau's getting exposed for all the different crafty wickedness he's doing, and we know that the food is has been defiled. You know, now, you know, when you are shopping, going grocery shopping and eating, you know, all this stuff has got GMOs and stuff in it. You know, all of it is touched, but you want to try to eat the best of the worst, as we hear our elders and apostles of Great Millstone say. You know, you want to eat the best of the worst. You know, find you a program that best fits you so you can start eating more cleaner. You know, you don't have to eat 3 and 4 times a day. Eat one meal. You know, how you eat some shakes and some smoothies and some healthy snacks and fruits to get you through the day. You know, but let's get back to this over here. So defile, went into it. It's pollute, desecrate, you know, to stain. All right. Daniel didn't want to eat that food because it didn't fit the our dietary law. Verse 9 in Daniel, the first chapter. Now, the Most High had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. So, you know, one thing about, you know, Judah, you know, they are people that are favorable type people. You know what I mean? They got charisma, they smile, you know, Judah, you know, they light up the room, you know, when they in the right spirit, you know. So that's the spirit that the Most High put on Daniel, a favorable spirit, a tender love spirit, you know. People cleave to Daniel. Verse 10. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. But why should he see your face worse likened than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. So what the prince of the eunuch is saying, look, you're gonna put me in a bad situation if you tell, you know, if I go over here and tell the king that you don't want to eat this food. You know, and why would you want to be looking worse than your other people of your peers? You know, because he thinking that Daniel, you know, he ain't gonna be eating and all that, and he ain't gonna be getting the nourishment. Verse 11, then said Daniel to Melchizar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us posts to eat and water to drink. So this is a challenge. All right. Posts is salads. Let's go into it. We finna get to the point. So we're going to go to this word post here. Goes back to the Hebrew word zara'ain. That's the za, the ra, the ah, and the final in character in the Hebrew. And it's vegetables, as you see there. So they was eating vegetables and water. Now you ain't got to go all out and just, you know, turn into, you know, a vegan, you know, but you do want to add water and vegetables to your diet. You want to eat a lot of that, whether it's broccoli, string beans, uh, you know, carrots, you know, various salads, you know, onions, tomatoes, olives, eat all that. Verse 13, then let our countenance be looked upon before thee. Countenance is the faces. And the countenance of the children that eat of the portions of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So this is a challenge, right? So he consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than the children which did eat the portions of the king's meat. So Daniel and them, all right, they looked more healthier and fuller in the face within those 10 days versus the other people that was eating the king's meat. Because 9 times out of 10, the king's meat was full of carbs, shit that make you lazy, tired, no nutrients in it, fried food, deep fried food, pastries, different sweet, whole bunch of sweet shit. And shalom to the Akim and the Akwaf that's listening and learning. You know, so as Daniel's eating the vegetables and the water, they putting the nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals and hydrating themselves. All right. It says in verse 16, thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink and gave them pulse, vegetables. And as for these 4 children, the Most High gave them knowledge and skill and all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now, ultimately, the Most High gave them this spirit, all right? The learning and wisdom. But all this learning and wisdom and all this stuff is associated with a good diet. And there's so many benefits, cognitive benefits, when you are exercising, when you are working out and eating better, and getting your rest. So, you want to start applying that. And the Most High got us on this health thing for a reason, So I ain't going to draw it out. I just want to bring that out through the spirit. Try to stay away from the king's meat. All right, the Babylon food. And we read an example on how, there was a challenge where Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, for 10 days, they ate vegetables and water, and they didn't eat. They stood away. They stayed away from the king's meat. And then everybody that was still on the king's meat, when the 10 days was up, the appearance of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was more fairer. They looked more healthier, hydrated off of eating, a custom diet that was healthy versus eating the king's meat. So let that be, example on, staying away from this Babylon food. All right. So I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Akakwadash, and double honors to our elders and apostles, great millstone that taught us the truth. Shalom, Akim, stay strong.